Alright, YouTube. Today I'm out walking around. Here's the Beetle. She's still down. It sucks. I still need to... I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the motor. Eventually I need to get it fixed. I will get it fixed. So, sorry if there's too much ambient noise. I'm just kind of walking around my building here, trying to lose some weight. Getting fat. Alright, so today I had a friend ask me about traffic fines, because I did a while ago, I did the video about trying to reduce the fines if you're restoring an old vehicle using the statement of fact. I had a lot of people who asked me about how much did I pay for my old Beetle to get registered, and I told them I paid like $110, which is, or I think it's like $140 or something like that. That's the transfer and a registration fee or something cheap. And I've had so many friends who are like, oh my god, I paid like $800. So I'm not a lawyer, so obviously if you have legal issues, consult a legal expert. I'm just gonna tell you what I did, because nobody's perfect. So I've had my fair share of traffic and issues. So this is from my experience. So an interesting thing happened recently. I've been trying to clear up some old tickets, get my license clear, get my driving record clear, and all that good stuff. So recently I had an old ticket that I failed to pay on. I went to court, pled guilty. It was 2 traffic citations. One of them I think was driving with expired insurance. The other one was modified muffler on a motorcycle. It was typically California's pretty lenient about their motorcycle exhaust laws, but when you're running an open pipe like I was, it gets real loud, and motorcycle cops, they kind of ping on you, especially if you're riding on a sport bike. At the time I was riding an R6. So let's see, how's the lighting there? That's all right. So I decided to tell about my process. So I had this old failure to pay. I talked to, out here in California, we have what's called GC services. They're like a collection agency. I talked to them, and they were like, oh, the only way to clear it up is to pay the bloody fine. And if you you have to pay the fine in full in order to get it clear off your license if it's holding it up and all that good stuff. So I talked to them. They were telling me that it was like gonna be basically like $1,200-$1,300, right? So when they want to impose when you have a ticket that goes to collections, they typically want to impose the maximum fine. So even if it was just like $100 or some shit for your ticket, they're gonna try and charge you. Sorry, the lens is a little blurry. They're gonna try and charge you the most that they can get. So if you have a fine and it's even just like $50, if you fail to appear or do certain things that you don't comply, they can impose the maximum fine, which in California for infractions I think it's like $700, $800, especially with what they call the assessment fees. So I went and I talked to the clerk, because I was like, I really want to get this cleared up. It's a stain on my record. And they told me traffic clerk was really cool, and she was like, I could just send you up to GC services. They're going to tell you just got to pay for it, plain and simple. But I'm going to give you a hand. She goes, you need to fill out this one paper and request to have your fine, or basically your case, determined for an ability to pay. So there's a single page form, and you can take extra room if you want to explain your situation a little better. And basically what it is it's called a request to vacate civil assessment, or a request an ability to pay determination form. You have to request it from the clerks. Don't go to collections, don't go to GC services, don't even waste your time talking to GC services. Like, this is how fucked up GC services is. I dealt with an old failure to appear. I got the case dropped and all the fines dropped, but when I went to the GC services freaking website, it still showed that I owed them the full amount for the ticket. They don't clear it. don't waste your time with GC Services. They are just a collection agency. They are not a representative of the court. So I filled out the form, and the form is basically there for those who have some sort of reason why they need to either request to have the fine reduced, changed, or even vacated altogether. So in my situation, you know, I've been in between jobs for a bit. I just now started working again, and you know, it's hard where you need to have your license, you need to have a somewhat clean driving record when you're like me. I work in security, and I do patrol, and they really want you to keep your driving record clean. So I needed to have all this stuff cleared in order to, you know, maintain my job. So I filed the paperwork. There's no fee to file the paperwork. The paperwork's free. You can request it. You don't even have to go to the court. You can actually print out the form online and mail it in to the court, you know, for a determination. Now, when you do that, you have two options. You can either, one, just type up a statement and submit it and request it to be reviewed, or you can, two, request an in-person review. So an in-person review, you can go in front of a determination officer or some sort of judicial representative. I don't believe it's a judge. I think it's just some sort of like office person, some sort of administrator. And they will determine if your reasons for requesting a reduction are worth reducing. But it's totally worth it. It's free. You know, it typically takes up to, I believe, I got it done at Compton. They said it took about 4 weeks to get a full determination. And they went ahead and not only did they take a fine that pretty much I had no option but to pay and cut it by half. So I owed them like almost $1,300. And in the end, they were just like, if you want to pay it in full, you can just pay $600. They dropped it from $1,300 to $600, which is doable. But the cool thing is, not only did they give me the option to just pay it, they also gave me the option to do community service. I didn't have to request it. They just automatically gave me an enrollment in community service. So they gave me the option. I could do a payment plan. I could do community service, whatever. And the cool thing is, if this item is holding up your license, you can just immediately, once they have a determination, it will immediately clear it. You don't have to, like with GC Services, pay in order to have a fine cleared off your failure to pay or failure to appear. You have to pay the fine in full. Because they're literally just reopening your case, it's considered in compliance. So because it's in compliance, they just go ahead and they completely clear it up, you know. And once you've started to deal, because once you've dealt with it that way, you can, if your license is suspended, you just got to go back to the DMV and request a reinstatement. You don't have to freaking deal with GC Services or any of that stuff. So don't waste your time. You know, there are a lot of ways that you can request to have, you know, court stuff dealt with, you know. Honestly, as crazy as it may sound, if you really have a lot of fines, you got a lot of crazy stuff on your ticket or on your license. Honestly, I got one good piece of advice from a friend of mine who is a public defender, and it helped me out a lot. You know, as crazy as it may sound, consider jail time. Really, consider jail time. I had an old misdemeanor. It was driving with suspended license, and it was because of these old tickets. You know, so it really helped me out a lot. I had I got pulled over, and the cop was like, you know, you had these old infractions that you failed to pay, failed to appear on, and they suspended your license. So now you got to go to court for dealing with those tickets, and you got to go for the driving on a suspended license, which really could fuck you up. Because in California, driving on a suspended license is a misdemeanor. It's probably a misdemeanor in most states. But so I went to court, and I went to my court for the suspended license, and I pled guilty, and I requested to surrender myself within like a couple days, and I was sentenced to 10 days in jail, right? So my public defender buddy is like, hey, that's a good way to go, because in places like California, especially Los Angeles, total overpopulation. They don't want to waste their time with somebody who just has some traffic infractions. And how awesome this is I was able to roll this over. So the driving on a suspended license, that was, I think, through, where was it? I think it was Hollywood. But the tickets that had suspended my license were through Van Nuys. So before surrendering myself, I went to Van Nuys court, and I owed I think $3,000-$4,000 in just old failure to pays, of old failure to appears, from a bunch of infractions, just old infractions dating back to 2011, And I went ahead and I told them that I was going to be surrendering myself to the county jail, and my public defender, again, was able to be like, hey, can we get it all concurrent? So what that meant was I was going to serve time for my driving on a suspended license, and I was going to serve time for all my old infractions in lieu of payment. Didn't have to pay a dime. No court fines, no fees, no assessments, no nothing. All I wanted to do was just serve the time and get it over with. So they agreed, and they were like, all right, if you're going to check in, we're just going to add, I think they added 6 days to it. So I went and I checked myself into the jail, and I was ready to do the whole stint and all this good stuff. And I went to the jail, and I turned myself in, and I got booked, I got processed, went through all that fun. And I sat in holding for maybe 5 hours. It felt like, I think it was at least 4 or 5 hours. I just sat in holding with a bunch of people. Then I finally made it into the general populace, which was interesting. So they gave me a bed. They gave me, I think it was lunch. And right after lunch, they called my name and let me go. I would say I was probably in jail all of about 8 hours tops. Yeah, and out of that 8 hours, I think with the general populace, I think I spent maybe 2 hours or an hour, if that. And then they let me go and gave me time served. Because in California, they're so overpopulated that for minor infractions like, traffic, if you have to go to jail, they typically will give you less than, I think, 1% of what you're required to actually serve. I actually tried to do it again and take care of some old tickets. And they ended up just giving me community labor. They wouldn't even let me in the jail. I got there, and the lady was, sometimes they'll ask you, do you want to do the community labor or do you want to do jail? The lady was like, we're not even going to book you in. We're so overpopulated right now. We're just going to give you the community labor. And ended up having to clean the county jail buses for 3 or 4 weekends, which wasn't a big deal. So there are options. The point is there are options for taking care of old tickets, getting yourself out of trouble, getting back in the right of the system. I did it. Anyone can do it. Just remember, if you are looking for a way to take care of old failure to pays, you want to request a vacate of civil assessment or a determination to pay, determination of ability to pay, which is basically reopens any failure to pay fine. Now, if you have an old failure to appear, again, don't pay it. Just go straight to court. I've had failure to appears where I've gone to court and they were so old, they were so outdated, I didn't even own the vehicles anymore, and they immediately got dismissed. So, a ticket that I was worried about that was $1,400, $1,200, I went to court and the judge was like, do you have the car anymore? And I'm like, no, I don't even have the car. This was an old ticket. And he threw it out. Or, at the worst, they'll be like, all right, pay the dismissal fee for $25. I even had a judge where I went and it was a ticket for driving with, what was it? I think it was a no insurance. And the judge was like, do you have the car anymore? And I was like, I don't have this car anymore. It's gone. It got impounded years ago. And the judge was like, all right, I can get rid of the infraction. He's like, but do you have a current car? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, do you have insurance on that car? And I was like, I do. And he was like, all right, I will. He goes, I'll vacate your fine. Just pay the $25 dismissal for currently having insurance. You know, even if you didn't have insurance at the time that you received the infraction, if you have insurance at the time afterwards and you show that you're taking responsibility, a lot of judges will either reduce or completely throw out a no insurance fine. You know, same thing with registration. If you just show, hey, yeah, you didn't have it at the time, but you're taking responsibility, you got it done, they will take care of you. You know, if they don't want to keep you in that cycle of you paying tons of money and you're owing the state for tons of money. So take care of those tickets, guys. You know, because it took me a while. This is from back in like 2009 when I started getting, you know, little tickets, especially with my cars, you know, being modified and all that stuff. Because it took me getting a little older and literally just asking questions to figure out that there are easier ways to deal with it when you first get it, or, you know, even if you've lapsed and you've let it sit for a bit. This is Otaku Phil. I'll talk to you guys later. If you have any questions, leave them comments down in the comment section. Maybe I'll give you guys an update on how much weight I lost. It's not much. And I'll talk to you guys later.